All right, KNES 570 Professional Development. This is our pod class number 4, and my guests today are Billy Christian and Caleb Frank. Billy Christian is an alumnus of UL Lafayette, comes our way from the Lake Charles area, and Mr. Frank is from Houston. I almost said Houston, Louisiana. Houston, Texas, via Sam Houston State and McNeese. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me on this graduate professional development class. Today's focus is recreational management, and you guys both work at a pretty big rec center over there in Sulphur. So I'll let you guys kind of introduce yourself personally and talk about where you work and also your journey on what brought you here today on April 10th, 2025 to have this conversation.
Perfect. Caleb will start us off.
Hey, so just growing up, I always was an athlete. I ran track at McNeese. And I always want to be an agent, a coach, something that every athlete wants to get into because they're around sports. And luckily, being a track athlete at a Division I college, you kind of get to meet different people around the facilities that can lead you into different jobs just to make money as a college student. And so that what led me to becoming here at SPAR and working in recreation is I worked for Ward 3 in their summer programs and helping with the track programs and kind of just asking around, seeing different people who are running these programs and just kind of seeing the smile on their faces like, hey, you're out here in the heat, but you're happy, you're stress-free. Why did you pick this job? Because you don't really learn what you do in careers until it's kind of like an experiment. So you don't know what you do until you get a job. And he kind of just told me, just go look it up, look at the salaries, money you can make doing these things. And so interning with him and stuff like that, I kind of opened my mind to recreation sports and then the operation side of it, which is I always thought was so interesting to do. Of like, what happens on the back end of things? Because everything on TV, it happens for a reason. So I had a frat brother, I joined a fraternity. And he previously held the position that I'm working in now. And he kind of he got a new job and I applied and he just gave me all the information I needed to go into my interview and be successful in it. And then I end up getting the job and really enjoying what I do here. Just working indirectly with the kids and putting programs out there for kids that they really enjoy. And it makes you almost relive your old days of when you were playing kids growing up outside and stuff. So
Caleb, do you mind defining what SPAR stands for my students that don't know?
Yes, SPAR is Sulphur Parks and Recreation. We have all different. We have the water park, and then we have all the athletic facilities, which me and Billy we run. So
yeah. So for we have students that are from out of state and from out of the area. If you had to do like a 30-second infomercial for all of the different things, not everything, but just if you were trying to promote this new, because it's relatively new, right? The park.
Well, the whole system, we've been since the 50s. So
okay.
Yeah, so it used to be ran by the city and then we took it over. We're a government entity. And that's, what makes us kind of different than most other places is we are tax-based. So the millage, which is great because none of our kids have to pay for sports.
Wow.
So, other places, Youngsville, nothing taken away from them. We're great friends with their program and we strive to do things that they do. And it's the same way. We work very well together. Same thing with St. Juliet is they actually pay, they have to pay to play. But the big thing is that they contract all their work out. So for baseball, they work through Pony. They have an organization comes in and runs it. Volleyball, they have a different organization comes in and runs it. Us, we run everything ourselves.
Wow.
We get officials, we register, schedule, everything. Equipment, we spend about $100,000 a year on equipment.
Wow.
Just for the kids. And, since I came in about a year ago, we started doing a lot. They never inventoried before. So now we inventory, save money.
Be more efficient.
Be more efficient, but also put that money to use because somewhere else because it needs to be used because it's tax money. So training tools, safety helmets for softball players for the girls infield, taking those measures because the world is evolving and sports is tournament baseball is what we're kind of probably known for most. Is we have around, just in recreation, 1,200 kids in baseball and softball. So, but that's not including our tournament teams that we have practice. We have over 30 tournament teams here. So, it's defining the fine line between tournament and recreation baseball.
It seems like there's more. I don't say more. This isn't a competition, but it seems like because it's a taxpayer. It seems like it could be more community based, right? Because the community is part of. I could see my tax dollars at work.
Yes,
it is.
And prior to this year, we used to not let anybody participate in our sports if you didn't have a SOFR address or you weren't in those region lines. So
for those of you, and I'm just thinking of a student who might be from out of state, Sulphur is on the west side of Lake Charles, right? Just to kind of give an idea of where Sulphur is.
Yes,
Billy, what about your background and what led you into this job? And then we'll get into the hierarchy of the job itself, but a little background on you.
Yeah, so as you said, my name is Billy Christian. I came out of St. Louis Catholic in Lake Charles, ended up going to UL. I did track, signed a track scholarship, did that my first year, and then I ended up playing football for the rest of my career. Did track one more year, got injured, and couldn't throw javelin anymore. So I'm sure a lot of y'all have taken Dr. Campbell's class. I took pretty much every one of them that he had. So we do have a great relationship over the years, but I do credit him for a lot of me wanting to be into kinesiology and the sports background. So do listen to what he has to say, because he is one of the smartest people I do know from Delcom. But
low bar.
Yeah. So I was there, I did the sports. I was in a fraternity over there. We got kicked off campus, so we're not there anymore. But ran a bar downtown. So I had the whole experience of everything, but I thought I was going to go into safety work. And then I got hired straight out of college to medical sales, and realized that people in North Carolina aren't the same as the South. So, Southern hospitality is second to none. So I ended up running multiple branches for Enterprise, National, and Alamo car rental companies, all the way from Baton Rouge, New York to the Barry. So everywhere, all in that area, I ran. And then I just was so stressed. I quit, became a substitute teacher, and ended up coaching for 7 years at Iowa. And I was the head strength and conditioning coach, the head track coach, and then one of the offensive coordinators with the other guy, Stu, which Stu probably needs to get on your pod. He'd be a great for you as well. So I did that for 7 years, and then this position opened last year as the athletics manager. So I decided to take it. It was back home, and it's more of it. The big thing is this program is what helped me become who I am. Going through this program, having the free being able to play, but it's also the relationships that were built. And now I have a lot of friends growing up that have their kids going through the program. So I want to have it revived back to what it used to be. The world is a different place now, but with technology and advancements, we're going to try and make it the best that we can.
Sam, I don't mean to interject in your story, but one of my students is on the football team, and he's considering chiropractic. That was something you kind of looked into, right?
Yeah. So, do you want me to tell that story?
Yeah, no, not the whole story. Only because we don't have enough time.
Yeah. What story I'm talking about.
I have no idea what story you're
talking about. The phone story at the sushi restaurant.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, just because I accidentally picked up someone's phone, they still give me, stuff about it. Yeah.
But no, chiropractor school is great. I did looked hard into it, and they ended up not going that route. But, looking back, that's something that I really wish I probably would have went into. We work with a lot of chiropractors here. A lot of the chiropractors are coaches for us, and they're great. So, chiropractic is awesome, the holistic health. And if you can ever find that balance and between PT, chiropractic, and the holistic health, and having them not butt heads so much and have them work together, I think it'd be very beneficial. Awesome. But we went to Parker?
Yeah, it was in Dallas.
Yeah. They have it down in Boca Raton, I think, is another one. So I would look at that. St. Augustine is another one. So that is a great area to look at because holistic health has grown throughout the years.
It seems that a common theme is to keep your options open, right? Because you never know when you open up a door and inside that door is several other doors, but that next door might be something you didn't even realize existed. So keep those options open. Guys, can y'all talk about the structure? So the basic structure of how SPAR is set up. I don't say who's on top, but just how I can't fathom my brain because I'm not a very organized person. I just kind of wing it and just stumble my way into things. But how does the structure work where you have someone overseeing everything that eventually trickles down to making sure softball players get appropriate helmets? What's the breakdown of the structure at SPAR? Generally speaking, obviously we're not going into intricate details, but in terms of the person who's overseeing kind of everything, and that could even be someone on the city council, whatever that structure is, I'm fascinated with how the organization happens to help so many kids.
So, this whole company has grown. We went from 20 employees up to, I think we're over 70 full staff in the past probably 15 years, or probably 10 years. And that's not including the staffing that we have during the summer for the water park concessions, where we're hiring hundreds of kids to run the water park as lifeguards, concessions, anything like that. But it starts with our director is Lori Colzer. She is a woman who worked her way up. She was just a secretary, and she's worked her way all the way to the top as a director from being under multiple directors before her. And it starts with Lori. We have Natalie is our assistant director underneath her, but we do have board members that we have to answer to. So we have 5 board members that are appointed each year, and they usually it's a rotation. So the same board's been there since I've been there. So we do have to answer to them. We have board meetings every week or every month, I'm sorry. But we also have a lot of input from the police juror because that is who pays our bill and, our insurance as well. Then it goes down to our managers. So we have the athletics manager here. We have a maintenance manager. We have an aquatics manager.
Wow.
An IT manager. And a golf manager.
Wow.
So we do have a golf course at our office right here. So it's nice to be able to walk out.
and you could tell people, hey, I'm working.
Exactly.
I'm working here. I'm working here.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it goes down to, so from managers, then it goes down into supervisors, which that's what Caleb is. And usually like us in sports has 2. Golf course has like 2. The aquatic center has 1 or 2. Maintenance has 2. And then you go into your specialists and representatives, customer service representatives, whatever it may be, because we do have the hierarchy in that development, because we do have 7 parks that we operate off of. So each people, we have to work together, because to get fields ready, we have to communicate with maintenance. Us and maintenance, that's probably our biggest person that we work with in regard is maintenance.
That makes so much sense.
We have to send them grids of what's going to happen. Sorry, I was reading the email.
No, you're fine.
So we have grids, so we'll send it to maintenance, and they have to make sure that the plates are on the right, or the bases are on the right distance, the mounds are correct, fields are cut, trash, everything. But we also have the big part of our position is we have park attendants, which are the people in the afternoons that go and make sure everything's unlocked. Once maintenance leaves at 3:30 every day. So park attendants come in at 4. They make sure everything's open, make sure if there's any issues, they're communicating back with us, lights are on. And then we started putting one of us out at a park each night that we have games, to make sure that we have an administrative presence there, because we'd rather nip the problems in the butt that night than let them stew all night and call us in the morning and get 6 phone calls. So.
And it also gives, and again, I'm speaking as an outside observer, it gives you credibility, I would think, right? To have a representative there, that means that you had the foresight and insight to care. What about it? Just listening to you guys talk, I didn't even think about the hiring of kids and their first jobs and the concessions. And so the economic impact of SPAR seems incredible to the community.
That's kind of our biggest, like, we base everything off of economic value a lot, because we do host these state championships for baseball, softball, and swimming. But when it comes to economic value, we lose about $100,000 on that tournament. Each one
Because
of those,
because you do it as a service.
we do it as a service.
Everything is that's our
as a
director.
service.
Our director's main thing is, as long as you're giving a service, if nobody uses it, we still offer it.
Because that service in itself is priceless. Those are the memories and the experiences that those kids are going to carry on to their kids, and that's really cool. So that's the investment.
Exactly. It's Caleb is done a good job with that and the service, and looking at what we want to do to make it feasible for everybody and make sure that no one is feeling excluded. Even everywhere from dealing with buddy ball. We have buddy ball on Friday nights here, which that is special needs softball. So we have a big league that comes play. There's advancements that we're looking into the future of building a buddy ball field.
Is that the same as Challenger League or similar? It's that version of Challenger. Yeah. What about going back to something you said earlier, because I'm chasing butterflies with so much cool stuff. It's what, like when a situation like with weather, let's give the students an example. There's storms that are coming. The communication that has to happen between, maybe the athletic, the medical people for safety, you guys for safety, the coaches, the teams. Can we just kind of maybe break down kind of like just an example of all the different levels that have to be in the loop for something like that?
Okay. Yeah, typically when there's a storm coming in, we look at the radar all day. I mean, we come in at 7:30, we'll get a phone call at 7:30 once saying, hey, are the games canceled today? And we're like, hey, just give us a second. We're looking at it. Sometimes weather shifts and things like that. But typically we always look at the weather throughout the day. The first thing we always do, even if it comes overnight, is, hey, maintenance, how are our fields draining overnight? What do they look like? Do they look feasible? If the kids play on it tonight, are they going to take care of it? Are they going to damage it? How much work is it going to put on y'all the next day to make our fields look good when you pass by, And then if we do have to cancel, they say, hey, I don't think the field's draining well enough. They're going to damage the fields if they play on it. We make sure we communicate first with our concession lead.
Yeah.
Our concession lady, to make sure that her staff doesn't come, because they have to be there before. So when the public gets there, they can get their food, their drinks before the game starts. And then we make sure that the coaches know, of course, and we started a group me, so it's easy as direct text messaging with all the coaches. They can always message back as well. And then we use Civic Rec registration, which most organizations use. It's made just for Parks and Recreation for registration purposes.
Can you say that name again?
Civic Rec.
Civic Rec.
Yeah. CIVIC and then Rec.
Very cool.
Yep. And then there's a mass communication button that we can send a short message to. And we always make sure we get that out to all the parents and everybody that's registered in the activities that's going on. And then we make sure our officials know, most importantly, because we want them showing up thinking they're going to get paid. When you have somebody come to work, they're expecting to get paid.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you have them show up and we don't pay them, then that's a different problem that you don't want to do with people's money.
You don't want to mess with
they're coming from Lake Charles, from Benton, they're coming from everywhere.
And they're coming from their first job, which they're already tired, and they're doing this just because their love for the kids, their love for the sport.
Yeah. Do y'all have an official social media presence?
We do it internally. That is one thing that we think we need to get someone that specializes in marketing and social media, because there is different algorithms that I learned have gone to multiple events and networking events that you get to. Marketing is different. Social media has algorithms that you see all these people making millions of dollars by learning that specific market. So I definitely think that's something that we are looking into to grow what we're producing out there for the public. So
Very cool. What is your busiest, what is your Super Bowl? What is the and I don't want to assume, but is it for the baseball, softball? Is that
Next month.
is that your Super Bowl?
Next
Yeah,
month.
yeah, that's it's no bigger than the state tournament for baseball. And then even for the kids, they have little league tournaments where they can eventually go on state, which everybody's seen those on ESPN where they have Texas versus Louisiana or Texas versus
Absolutely.
Little League World
Yeah.
yeah.
Series.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
that starts here at our facility for this state. So
In terms of business, do you guys directly collaborate with area hotels, restaurants? How does that work? Knowing all these families and people are going to be coming in, do you just kind of let them handle it, or do you try to work with area restaurants and businesses for that?
So we have a good partnership. We do have to communicate with our mayor. So anything that we have that's going to be big, require anything after 10 o'clock with sound ordinance, we have to register it as a festival.
Wow.
So like for the LHSA state baseball, softball, Jenny Finch World Series,
Hmm.
we do have a new thing coming in, AUSL. I'll talk about that in a little
Okay.
while. But
Because those game for the students, those games they could get postponed. They could go until midnight. I mean, those things
they
happen.
played them till like 3 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
like in the state baseball. But we do communicate. Our big person that we work with is the CVB, which is Visit Lake Charles, the Visit Lake Charles organization, and their sports authority. So Lake Charles Sports Authority. So they help us out a lot. So when we have these big tournaments and things like that, they send out information on hotels, restaurants, things like that. We communicate directly with them for that, especially the very big tournaments. So to communicate, they push stuff out. They come to us with a tournament or something like that. Hey, can we host this? Yes, we can do it. So we work directly with them, which we currently are as well for a couple of tournaments, but they're kind of our main person. And then like Caleb and I went on the radio station on Kicks 96 to speak about official shortages. It's just any way that we can get in touch. And, if people call us and ask, we try to help them as best as we can at our office. But there are growing amounts of hotels in Sulphur because of the casinos right here in Lake
Oh,
Charles.
yeah.
It's right over the bridge. So Sulphur does get a ton of hotels are being built in this area.
So sorry, I got attacked by one of our cats who wanted to join the Zoom link. So when they register, they get like a packet, and that packet might have information in it about area hotels, restaurants. Is that kind of how it would work?
yeah, depending on the event, some tournaments are their business operated, so just a personal business that he owns like Win Events. It's a guy that owns his own tournament company. But we do have a list of tournaments that we host that we email to each maybe fast food or a restaurant, let them know what's coming on. And then those tournament coordinators do know those things. But when they just rent the facility, we kind of just make sure everything's set up for them, and then we let them host use that information how they need.
Gotcha.
So.
Caleb, this question is for you, but obviously Billy, all insight is important. I know Billy came from exercise science, the background, and with his interest in sports, he's kind of landed here. But you've always been in sport management and kind of a rec background.
Yep.
In terms of networking, in terms of, I want to say climbing the ladder. That's not really the word I'm looking for, but it seems like in rec sports specifically, it takes face-to-face relationship building. I'll use that term. Can you talk about the things that you've learned over the years, or about the specific networking, specific professional development with it that's unique to rec sports? I think it was what I'm trying to get at. That's just so unique to your family within the area of rec sports. And Billy, you could follow up after him by saying the comparing and contrasting to other areas that you've been before. So Caleb, can you talk about the uniqueness of rec sports in terms of networking and professional development with other people in the field?
Yeah. So my path has been really quick. And I started 2.5 years ago as just an assistant, as an entry-level position. And I've progressed to a supervisor in just 2 years. And just with my professional development, it's like playing a sport. You have to know your personnel, which your personnel in recreation is the community. So you have to learn who to talk to and how to talk to people when people are coming to you, typically when they're unhappy. And you have to learn how to talk to them. You're like a head coach of the community, is how I would describe it, working in sports, where somebody's coming to you upset and you have to learn how to talk to them and calm their feelings down and make sure just give the people what they want, because you're here for the service aspect of it. And then with all these different coaches and families and personalities that you interact with at the facilities that you learn that you have lawyers walking around, you have realtors walking around, you have doctors, you have teachers, that they can all help you by just giving back, just like gambling. So you take a risk and they'll give something back to you. So I've learned a lot of, it's who you talk to, how you talk to, and then keeping everybody happy, because it's not about making your job specifically easier, because when you're working and helping the community, if they're happy, your job is automatically easier. So it's a
Wow.
direct relationship with them. So I learned, just learning in my short career so far, is that if you just do what they ask for while keeping 98% is the number I like to use, 98% of the people happy, it makes your job easier. Because if your work is hard, it's temporary. Because if you have that 98% of the people happy,
Yeah.
eventually the road is going to flatten. So
I like that. There's a lot of things I like about that, because it's impossible to get 100% of people.
right,
And
right,
if that's your goal, you're never going to be satisfied,
right, yeah.
because you're always going to dwell on,
Mhm.
the people that you can never make happy.
Right.
So I really like that perspective. Billy, what have you kind of learned comparing and contrasting to other areas like coaching and the service industry?
Managing. Yeah. So, starting with the service industry, that's kind of where I learned it is we also are in control of concessions here. So we're in charge of all the concessions. So, when I meet with them and talk to them, I said, you don't know, like Caleb said, if this guy's a lawyer or if he could be your future employee. It's all about putting a smile on your face. Yes, sir. No, no, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. And giving the people, what they want, smile, be fast and serve it and friendly with them. And especially from where I came as a teacher is you learn the patience aspect patience is something that I struggled with for a long time. But by teaching special education, I learned a lot of patience, coaching, I learned a lot of patience, which really helped me prepare for this job of patience of you're going to have a lot of things going on at one time. You have to be patient on answers on certain things and being able to be patient on results because everybody wants to have your results directly, but it takes time. It took them time to build the pyramids. Nothing is just done overnight, but you have to put yourself into the right mindset and the right pathway to be successful. And then, big thing is working when I was at Enterprise is I was a manager there, but it's just the daily operations, the time management, operating profits. That kind of taught me a little bit more of the business back end, the delegation style. As Caleb said, we want to keep as many happy as possible. And the great thing about us two is Caleb is a very monotone, yes, no. I'm going to be a little bit more, I'll listen for I'll let them talk, because people love to hear themselves talk. So, it's great because we have different diverse backgrounds and we also have a diverse crew in here to where certain people can handle situations better than the other ones, which is great, but it also can cause some headaches sometimes, if the wrong person tries to settle an issue.
Yeah. So it seems like you understand that you can complement each other, and that at the end of the day, this really is a team effort in terms of hitting that 98%.
Correct.
There's no way to do this by yourself.
Yeah.
We have to communicate. We have to be organized. Like we have a huge calendar, the 6-month calendar that looks like Rain Man in there with all the writings and everything.
And I was telling Billy when we first started, I was like, what do you expect? I was like, because if you keep chasing perfect, you're going to keep chasing because it's just something that you you can never achieve. It's not
Yeah.
possible.
I like to think of, you can't strive for perfection, but you can always strive to be optimal. How can I get, and I think that's that whole improvement, right?
Yeah. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice.
Yeah. But it's progress, not perfection. You know,
Exactly.
it's the journey of self-improvement. And when you kind of look at every situation, good or bad, is a lesson. You know, a bad experience is a great lesson, you know, so that you don't have that bad experience again, or if it is, it's not as bad, right? I think that's a good lesson for the kids too.
We're kind of in that phase right now because before us, they had people in here that were in there for 20 years, 15 years. And then we come in brand new and we want to make the changes, but we're learning to be a little bit more patient. We had these big strong ideas, but we have to kind of scale back and scale back, perfect it, and get it to the best that we can. And then the growth will come from there.
Yeah.
And
One of my lessons as an athletic trainer, Caleb, I was an athletic trainer through college,
Okay.
and working with the coaches, I learned right away that if there was something that I thought was in the best interest of an athlete, let's say I had a pitcher who was having a shoulder problem and I knew she needed a day off. I couldn't go to the coach and say, Coach, Felicia's hurting today. I don't think she should pitch tonight. I couldn't do that. You know, the coach needs to win, and those coaches have kind of a conflict of interest. So what I had to do is I had to say, Coach, I saw Felicia warming up, and man, she was all over the place. I think if she does pitch, she's going to get shelled.
Right.
yeah,
And when you put it like that, coach was like, "Oh man, well, I don't want to lose, so
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
we should give her a day off." Coach, that's a great idea. I'll let her know,
Yeah.
right? And so sometimes I could so relate to your point that you're coming with these new ideas from Sam Houston, new ideas from UL, new ideas from McNeese. But to some people who have been there for that long, too much too soon is probably a no. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of adapt this strategy, you know,
well,
kind
and
of
there's reasons
small changes or gradual changes.
they've had the trial and errors before us. So there's certain things that need to be changed, but there's certain things that we think could be changed. And then it was changed that reason for a reason. It is like they've already made the mistake and they made those changes because of that mistake. So it's balancing between what we can change and what was changed already
Yeah.
to make it a
Yeah.
little more
I,
easy for
I've
everybody.
always, and not to deter the conversation, I think this is adding to the conversation. I've had bosses that would just say yes or no, but never give context because they didn't feel they needed context. I've been the kind of person that's like, let me learn through your context, right? Like, so you're telling me no, but if you give me the reason, that's something I can learn from, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I've always valued, you know, if you're going to tell me no, that's fine, but give me a reason, not because I'm questioning you, but because I want to learn. Like, I want to learn what's the context of that answer.
That's us too. We ask the why all the time. Especially if you're guys that you are and y'all young in your careers, ask the why. You're never gonna be hated on for it. If you just say yes or no, nowadays it's not. You need to understand how it operates. You need to understand the background and everything. So ask the why is the biggest thing I could say.
And
And
never, and with the no, never be scared of a no because you're gonna face many in your life. And then one advice I would also give on top of that is if you're tired of too many no, sometimes take a leap. If you fail, that's also gonna give you the same as an explanation after a no.
yeah,
Hey, I did this. We're gonna put it out there, and if it doesn't work, I'll own up to it, and
yeah,
then I understand why you told me no. And it's
yes.
you get the same answer from both of those.
Yes. But it also seems like, well, to your point, how you ask the why is important, right? I mean, if I just tell Billy, well, why? Like, like there's a way that I think this class kind of is introducing some of the students. There's a way there, what do they call it? Tact. There's just a way to go about that follow-up that is either a passive aggressive or professional in genuinely them realizing you want to learn and you're not just trying to uh, you know, uh, step on their, you're not trying to make them look bad. I know there's a word for that.
You said it, delivery. It's the delivery is key. And It's all about, we have to deal that when I talk to parents, when we talk to coaches, it's all about your delivery. If they hear you being genuine, if I just say no and be like, no, but if you go ahead and explain it, this is why, or
Yeah.
can you please help me understand, or so I don't make this mistake again, given a little bit of explanation rather than just saying no and okay. You ask that, you feed in for it, you
Yeah.
try to get any additional information you can, because your brain, you want to have it like a
Yeah.
sponge.
There's context to the follow-up.
Yeah.
Or when if you get to a position to tell somebody no, you want to give them alternatives to still get to that same destination, that falls in between the guidelines that you
Great,
want this
great
program or
point.
this to look like.
Great point. Great point. Guys, if we could not change the subject, but off ramp into conferences, conventions and professional organizations. In my world of athletic training, we had a national athletic training conference in a state and a regional, and that was a place where athletic trainers can go and learn some stuff and network and potentially job, business cards and resumes. In the world of recreation at sports, is there organizations, conferences, whether it's national, state, area? Can you speak about kind of those professional organizations and opportunities?
Yeah, so there's the NRPA, so it's the National Rec Parks and Association, and they have one every year in different locations. I got the opportunity to go my first year here when it was in Dallas, where you have everybody from across the country that's giving classes about their directly organization, from big organizations to small parks and recreation. And you can kind of see the same issues that they have and the differences and what they do well and how can you implement that stuff into your program while these people are very friendly because they're all there for the same reason. So you have the same interests, so you can have similar conversations outside of that. And then everybody's staying in the same location. So after you leave the convention, you go to the bar, you get a drink, and you have
That's where the networking
that's
happens.
that's where the conversations outside of the
That's
where
that's the real interviews.
exactly, yeah. So that's where they see if, hey, can he fit our
Yeah.
program and can he be in the office
Yes.
with us,
Yeah.
Yes.
So, those conventions are very helpful. I would love to go every year if I could.
Do
But
they have state? Do
yes,
they
there
have?
is one in Louisiana that I haven't got the opportunity to go to
Mhm,
yet. But I do know the main one is the national. I know last
mhm.
year was in Dallas. I think this year it's in Orlando. They know to not send me and Billy together. We might not
Yeah.
even see
Yeah.
we might not even see the convention, but
Well, I would love to go with you guys. I mean, obviously for academic reasons.
Yeah.
yeah,
We'll
For
go.
sure.
yeah.
For sure.
Um, what in terms of but so we talked about the conferences, we talked about conventions. Is there any kind of certifications or any kind of licensing you have to do to, I don't want to say practice rec, but is there like some kind of organization that you join that kind of as part of the in RPA?
Yeah, I think it's me and Billy we're going to start studying for it. I think
Hmm.
it's National Parks Executives. So you learn how to be where the Lori Coles are, so where the directors are, and it teaches you
Mm,
the ins and out directly of Parks and Recreation. I heard the test is pretty extensive and pretty hard,
okay.
so you have to study for it just like a master's program. Um, but
But
we
that would allow you to climb the ladder though, right? That
correct,
would allow you
correct.
to,
Yeah, you put that on your resume, and I'm sure if someone's seen that after you apply for a job, it'll
yeah,
do you
yeah,
justice and get you at least to the interview.
yeah.
So
That's all of them. Like, guys, if you are listening, any kind of certifications that you can get, training courses are great. And it doesn't matter where you go. If you're in safety, you're going to have to do safety certifications. Maintenance has to do certifications. They have to do playground certifications. It's wherever you're at, you're going to have some type of
Yeah.
certifications.
and
You know,
sometimes that's better than what your degree stands for because it shows
yes.
that you put your foot in the door that you're an expert in what you're about to
Mm.
do for that company. Um,
So
so
to your point, thousands of students have the piece of paper that said they graduated from McNeese or UL, but not a fraction of those people have that certification, that
correct.
license. And to Billy's point, you for the students, you can't practice law until you pass the bar. So it would be a similar example where, in these area of specific interest, they want to make sure that you have working knowledge of this practical area. It's impossible to learn all those unique niche things in undergraduate. So undergraduate's just kind of giving you general stuff, and then you really fine tune that niche in
And if
these certifications.
you find that certification that not necessarily deals directly with you, but it's another branch that can bring in another element to your organization, getting a different type of certification or training
Yeah.
that brings a whole new world into your organization is really what they love.
Yeah.
We have to do certifications for officials. We have to do certifications. We have to do registration for Little League. We spend $6,000 to register for Little League. There's multiple different certifications that we have to register every year. But as for training and the professional development certifications, those are the ones that you really want to attack. You remember Tyler Treweek,
Absolutely. Yeah.
my old roommate.
Yeah.
He was a safety guy, and he went through and he did every certification you could. And every time he get a certification, it's $5,000 or $10,000 raise. And then the next thing you know, he's making a lot.
He's reinvesting. He's reinvesting in himself.
I may pay this $1,000, but I'm getting $5,000 for it.
So, does SPAR support you guys' professional development growth, or are you accountable for that on your own?
They will, yes. So like they paid for the trip to NRPA for them. We've addressed about the executive thing, and they said yes, it's information for them. If it's anything that can get us to better our position to
absolutely
make a positive impact, then they are.
And you're helping, to Caleb's point, which I still love that number. By reinvesting in your development, you're going to make that 98%, 98.5%, and 99. Like it's just making a better product.
It's like PR and track. Once you're running 9.8, 9.75 is like
a ton.
Yeah. Great analogy. Yeah, great analogy. What in terms of on I'm going to ask a general, because we have about 15 minutes left. And I told you I wasn't going to take up more of an hour of your time, but can y'all talk independently about general advice about resumes, interviews? I'm going to make it open-ended. Resumes, interviews, what you wish you might have known, or things you've learned over the years that you could give some advice to young graduate students who are about to get out into the workforce, do's, don'ts, mistakes, lessons, any of that kind of advice from a rec background or your specific background on resumes and interviews?
Just first things first, you're going to make mistakes. Just get ready. There's going to be hardships. You're going to have challenges. Just get ready. That is life. That's the main thing in life, but it's how you come out of it. Once I switched from special ed, I became Journey to Careers teacher. So I taught kids in high school how to write resumes, cover letters, applications, interview process. The big thing is you want to be presentable in these interviews. I want to be presentable. I want to dress nice. I want to be early. When I shake hands with somebody, I'm putting my back hand on top of theirs. Not only does that show dominance, but that just show that you have the commitment as well.
Yes.
Handshake, eye contact, the whole 9 yards, being respectful. Up north, they don't like yes, sir, no, sir. But down here, they love it. That's the biggest thing. But when we are going to look to hire, we want to see some past experience. You want to be well-versed. Make sure that in those resumes, you are including things of special skills. If I know how to work Excel, I'm putting that. Any kind of things like that could be a positive impact on your business. Wow. We deal with Excel every day. So, anything like that, Microsoft Office efficient, any kind of programs that you may be efficient, if you can code, anything like that, first aid, CPR, and make sure you're doing a cover letter. People are not going to call you back if you're not including a nice professional looking. You don't want your resume looking crazy and, with big block letters and effects on it. You graffiti. Want it. Graffiti. You want it.
Well, tell me if this is what you're saying. Some resumes have a lot of sizzle, but not a lot of steak.
Yes, yes. So make sure you're getting your bang for your
Like
buck.
that.
You don't want to have, you don't want it half a page, but you don't want it 6 pages long either. You stick to those most efficient. Say you've had 10 jobs. I'm picking the 4 best ones, the ones that I can have a positive, and always include references. And when you're looking for references, you're looking for people such as like Dr. Campbell. You're looking for any kind of lawyer, doctor, anyone with some kind of merit to their name, is going to attract people. Or, if I'm applying for a position with us, it's say, Tim Robichaux, over at Youngsville, I'm putting things like that, anything that could have a direct correlation to where they can get a positive impact and kind of a good spill, is always include that on your resume. So,
Caleb?
And for me, my advice, my path is a little different because the first full-time job I applied for, I ended up getting through networking. I will say, with helping my friends, they're like, Caleb, what advice? I'm like, rejection. You're going to get rejected. But what you need to do with that rejection is you need to learn something from each interview that you are going with. And what did you do positive in this interview? I'm going to take that puzzle piece and add it to this puzzle. You got rejected again. You're going to put those 2 puzzle pieces together and bring them to the next one.
Nice.
And then when you come to the interview, it's a relationship in an interview. You don't want to come and just let the interviewer ask all the questions. Get to know them to show that you're invested in the company, that you've done your research. Because it shows that you care and that you've done your background on what this job is going to offer and what you can bring to this job. I know it's a really big thing in my interview. I reiterated at least 20 times that I'm willing to learn. That I've learned this growing up from my dad. He's a manager that you can never stop learning. My dad went to school. He was in the military while having 3 kids. He was reading a book while we were watching TV with him. He was always learning because you can never stop learning. As things change, you have to learn new things and with the investments that are coming. And then in terms of on your resume, anything you have on your resume, make sure you can answer those questions because they are evaluating this resume. So if you say that you've built a solar plant or you have your own turf, we're talking sports. How can you bring this turf to our facility? What makes it so good about it? Know the ins and outs, the budget, everything that you write on your resume. Make sure you can answer those questions because you don't want to wait. Give me 1 second. And it seems like you don't want to lie. One big thing that my friend also told me is when someone asks you a question in an interview, don't be afraid to say, "Hey, I've never had a question like that. Let me think about it." Because you don't want to bullshit them.
Yes.
You don't.
Great
point. I don't know is another
great
one that
point.
we hate.
You don't. I can't. I don't know. Let me think about it. I've never had a question like that. And then give them props. Like, hey, that was a great question. It's better than just giving a lie because they can tell.
They've been interviewing for a while.
These people that are interviewing, this is not their first,
and if you can get them to laugh too, that's always a good thing. Like we love breaking the ice. I always come up with a crazy question to ask them, but it's a
icebreaker.
It's a thought process question.
Get them comfortable
and making them answering why. Have them tell you about themselves. Let them get comfortable. And then would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses, or would you rather fight 1 horse-sized
duck? I love it.
Little things like that, and you ask weird questions like, what kind of kitchen utensil would you be and why? I'd like to be a spork because it's it's universal, it's mobile, you can use it as a fork, as a spoon, you can cut with it. Little things like that is always great. And it's great for y'all to ask questions to them that are a little bit outside the box.
For my doctoral comps, which was 3.5 hours, every now and then they would work in a question, why are manhole covers round? How do they get the shell of an M&M so smooth? I mean, just to your point, it's just to see how you react.
The Internship, the movie with Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn, when they ask him about the blender, that's a great one to watch and understand the outside the box.
But the important lesson for the students is it's not about your answer. It's about how you handle an outside the box. It's how you handle the problem.
Yeah.
That's really what they're assessing.
Right. And then for the athletes that you have in your class, it's these coaches, they're here to help you. They're like a father figure. Make sure you on holidays for networking purpose. Hey, happy Thanksgiving, coach. It's
Great
about who you know.
point.
These people are so much busier and they have a million contacts in their phone. But if they notice that you're doing this regularly, even if you don't get an answer, they're gonna see it eventually.
Yeah.
And just even with the professor that y'all have now, I mean, he's doing good things. I've heard,
Yeah.
Billy. Just just talk to him, have conversation. Don't be scared to ask for things, which was my biggest thing. It's like, all right, I'm only talking to these people that are older than me because I need something from them, but don't make
Yeah.
it seem like that. Ask
Yeah.
them questions, ask them for advice, and make it a real relationship, and just kind
Yeah.
of how you can build that difference in the
Yeah.
age group with the
Yeah.
people that you're
But
talking to.
but I think it's similar, but by needing something from them and learning something from them, just that little context changes the whole thing. Because you
Right.
think of needing something as like a favor, but if you're
Mhm.
trying to learn from them, you're trying to be mentored by them. I think most people would kind of see that as a badge of honor, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
One of the things I keep saying over and over, I say it every pod class because it was a lesson I learned a long time ago. It's not what you know, and it is not who you know. It's who knows you.
Yes.
I
That's
know
great.
Michael Jordan, but he don't know me, so I'm
Right.
not going to get an autographed basketball,
Yeah.
right? And so while y'all were talking about that, it made me think of that as, you know those coaches, but put yourself in a position so that they get to know you. And that's a game changer.
That's why we're at the park. That's why we're showing our face. I tell them at our meetings on our drafts or game scheduling is, guys, we want the good, we want the bad, we want the ugly, we want the communication, because if y'all don't communicate, we don't know. If y'all want something changed, you have to speak to us,
Yeah.
because we can't change it if we don't know. And it's us getting out there and seeing everybody, seeing our face. For a while we've had people that they just try to jump. If they have an issue, they jump straight up to the top, and bother the top,
Mm,
the director, rather than coming to us, who are the ones who deal with the problems, who
yeah.
can fix the problems. If we get
Yeah.
it down, just come
Yeah.
straight to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
We want to be that visible sign. That's why we're scheduling clinics. We're trying to do some clinics for kids clinics. We're trying to do parent and kid clinics together for parents to teach their kids to learn together, coaches clinics, to get that buy back into the community.
Yeah. This is more about rec sports and a lot about life, it seems. Like there's
Yeah.
just because as we know, in sports, there's a lot of life lessons.
Yeah. Oh, it
Working
is.
towards a goal, working as a team, taking responsibility, seeing hard work pay off. I mean, that's life lessons.
We
Yeah.
we stress it. Like that's the big thing we tell them at the beginning is it says it's not about you, it's not about me, it's not about him, it's about the kids. It's about the program of developing them. They're all going to go to pretty much the same high school. It's
Mhm.
all going to the same goal. Let's teach them the fundamentals. Let's have fun, teamwork, responsibility, respect, all of those aspects, and then the success will come. I'm
Yeah.
not worried that you can beat a team 15-0 and 8 years old. If you want to do that, go to the tournament.
Right. Or you have all of 6 kids out on your tournament team beating kids that have never picked up a ball before.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Can you imagine that on a resume?
Oh yeah,
8 years old, we beat it.
yeah.
What is that?
there's no substance behind it,
There's
right?
some people that take it like that serious, and we're trying to push it more towards we don't care about that final score. We care about the kids having fun.
Yeah.
It's about fun, it's about teamwork, it's about development.
Yeah. Billy, before we get to, I don't know if you told Caleb about the homework assignment that I gave. Before we do that, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about something you teased at earlier about something coming to Lafayette in terms
Oh
of a
yeah.
program or.
Well, no, we have it actually. It's coming to Sulphur. So
Oh, okay.
as some of you or y'all may not know, we host the Jenny Finch World Series every year. Y'all probably weren't even born when she was playing, but she's probably
I
one of the.
wa I
Yeah.
watched her play in person in college.
But she's a big pillar in our community. Our kids grow up here, but she has her 160 team tournament here. They got teams from Canada, from Mexico. It sells out in about 5 minutes, but the Thursday, Friday, Saturday of it, we are hosting the AUSL, which is the Athletes Unlimited softball league. It's the new professional softball league that is going to be on ESPN. We're hosting at our McMurray Park, which is our baseball complex that holds around 5,000 to 6,000.
Wow.
But temporary fencing out there. They're doing a 3-game series. So
ESPN2 is going to be there.
What is the date on that?
Should be June 14th, 12th through 14th, I believe.
Let's see. I can tell you.
I want to come swing by if you could hook me up with
if you have any kids that want to see the insides, there's going to be a lot of people there that you can network with, and they need volunteer help. They're paying.
So merchandise, bullpen catchers, they're taking a lot.
There's going to be professional team GMs.
For my students that don't know Jenny Finch, I'll sum it up like this: if there was a Mount Rushmore of softball, she would be a no-brainer.
She's a
no-brainer.
Tom Brady.
Just look her name up and look the awards up.
Yeah,
just look her up. Any softball player knows who Jenny Finch is.
She's the Michael Jordan of
softball. Yeah. So that you know what threw me off is because you said USL. AUSL, and so my brain was like, why is he referring to it as USL?
Yeah, no, that's showing your age.
Yeah.
I got no defense for that, Your Honor. All right, guys, we're going to get to the part where you assign the homework or the development project to my students. So I'll turn it over to you guys to assign the assignment.
Yeah, so we're kind of thinking we're laid back. We know y'all have a lot of homework, so we just want y'all kind of to look more into your professional development and kind of figure out 4 certifications or 4 internships that would excite you, and just a little summary why. Why would this be beneficial to you? Why do you want to do that? Caleb, kind of came up with that, and we talked about it because I think it's good for you to be able, with networking and professional development, is these are ways, these 4 certifications can advance me in the area that I want to go. These 4 internships will help me see different aspects. You don't want to do an internship. So I do an internship at Allstate. I do an internship at Geico. I do an internship at Farm Bureau. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Kind of get the same area, but different area aspects of the area, different angles, viewpoints.
I really love that assignment. And sometimes wording, I know this might be but like sometimes calling an internship a fellowship. Like I had a fellowship in athletic training at the Houston Clinic. Technically it was an internship, but it was more mentoring. So I think that's why they called it a fellowship. I love that assignment. I will add that I'd like or give me your feedback, because this is your assignment, because it's hard to maybe check off all the boxes. So maybe a priority, like an NFL draft. What's your first round pick, your second round pick, your third round pick, and your fourth round pick? So I want that first one to be like, man, if I could get any one of those or any of those experience, this is the one I love that assignment, guys.
Yeah. And then, once we kind of see it, if we do know some people, we're always, we love to help other people develop, we're in it for the service. So if we see any way that we can help, we'll definitely, forward it to the right people. And then, I'll communicate, and we're going to have those volunteer coming up to where if you or any of the kids would want to make some extra money and come see some professional players, once I get the information, I can send it over.
Absolutely. Guys, if y'all don't mind, maybe putting out how students can your preferred means of communication, email or social media, if they wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, Caleb's Snapchat is so we can give y'all both our emails, and then we can give y'all also our sports email, which is a generic email. It comes to everyone in our sports department, and we can all answer it.
Outstanding.
So my email is William, WILLIAM .Christian, CHRISTIAN @sulphurparks.com. Sulphur is with a U at the end, not an E.
And then my email is Caleb with a C, CALEB .Frank, FRANK at sulphurparks.com.
And Sulphur tree, it's because a lot of people, if you're from out of town, or out of state, you may not. It's SULPHUR.
I like to say I put the G in dyslexia, so I'm glad you guys spelled that out for me. Well, man, this hour went by super fast. I really appreciate y'all taking the time to meet with me, and I thought it was some great conversation, and I'm sure it's going to be very beneficial to the students that watch it. What are y'all doing for the rest of the day?
We have
games today. Yeah, we have a bunch of rec games. We have a high school game on our facility. So
I think we have a softball, maybe a softball.
Yeah, we do have a softball.
We have Sulphur Sam Houston, which is always a big rivalry. We have games on probably about 15 to 20 fields tonight. So going to be running ragged.
I remember the one time I did a fundraiser in Lake Charles, and one of the complaints was that Sulphur was playing in the state play. I mean, you can't plan this out, right? But they were so concerned because that's a big deal, right? I mean, that's where people are going to go.
They get off of school to help us volunteer for it. So the school gets out to help.
Outstanding.
So,
well, it was a pleasure meeting you, Caleb, and Billy, as always. Thank you for your time. And I hope to see you guys soon. I'd like to come visit during your Super Bowl and for the Jenny Finch thing. So I'll have my people contact your people.
Yeah, come on. And then guys, if y'all ever need to reach out, have any questions, email either one of us. We're open for anything that y'all need. So
awesome. Thank you guys so much. Y'all have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Be well.
Bye.